Hi, this is Bryant Dodd, and I want to show you how easy it is to use the auto painting feature in Corel Painter 2015. Corel 2015 has really a good auto painting feature in it that you can create real nice painting effects from your photographs, and it's really great for creating your own paintings. And I'll show you how you can put your own touch into it, as well as doing more than just the auto painting feature and adding your own brush strokes and your own style to it to give it your own character so that you can make each painting your own. Now, I already have my auto painting settings set up here, but if you don't have it set up, basically first thing you want to do is open up your image inside of Corel Painter 2015. And you can take from the Windows tab, you'll go down to where it says Auto Painting here. Select Underpainting, Auto Painting, and you can select Restoration if you want to. I really don't use that feature that often. I usually do mine from another cloning section here. I'll show you. But what you'll want to do here to start off with is, once you have your Underpainting tab set up and your Auto Painting tab set up, and by the way, I've got all three of mine grouped together: my underpainting, auto painting, and restoration. I always keep them together. You can actually ungroup these. All you have to do is just kind of slide them off of each other. But it's always best, I found, to just keep them grouped together. So I always take and just group them back together. You can just slide and drag them back on the panel here to just group them back together. And you can actually rearrange these however you want to rearrange them. I always arrange mine by underpainting, auto painting, and then restoration. So what you'll want to do basically is, the only thing I set here is my saturation. You have a color scheme here that you can play around with. I'll show you real quick just a couple of these, but I never really use these. The modern scheme is not too bad because it does give you a good bit of saturation, but I really never use these, so I always leave those set to none. Photo enhance set to none. The only thing I change is the saturation, and I usually bring it up to about 90% or so. Sometimes I go a little bit higher. About 89% is where I'm going to keep it here. Also, the edge effects, I never use the edge effects, but you can. They have pretty nice edge effects that, as you see on the screen here. You have the rectangular, the oval, the circular, and you have the jagged, which looks pretty cool. You could use these if you want to, but I hardly ever use any of those. And then once you have your saturation set to where you want it and you get ready to paint, basically what you can do is you can just hit this second icon at the lower left and it will apply your settings. The icon to the very far left of the bottom here will reset your underpainting if you've messed something up and you want to put it back to the original image the way it is, and try doing some more settings again. And once you get everything set on your underpainting, basically what you'll want to do is, this last icon here at the bottom right is the auto clone. You'll want to press that auto clone, and once you do, it will create another image, a clone image. So basically what it did, it just auto cloned that image. So I'm going to stretch it out over my original image here because I don't want to see the original. And basically you can see that it actually put a film, like a tracing film, over the image here on the cloned image. And I don't want to see that at all. Now, I work strictly on a Mac, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the actual image where I can't see the photograph. So I'm going to press Command T, and that's going to hide that. I like hiding it so I can just see the paint, watch the paint, see how the paint's going on. And I don't really like seeing the image behind it because it kind of distorts it from the paint. And I don't work with Windows that often. So I know to hide that on the Mac is Command T. Whatever your button is that's equal to Command on the Mac, you'll press that with the T on your keyboard on the Windows computer, and that will hide that as well. And once you get that done, you'll want to go to your Auto Painting tab. And you'll notice when I selected that clone, when it cloned that image, that it's grayed out over here on my color panel. That's where you want it to be when you start painting. You want to make sure it's always grayed out. And I'll show you how it changes in a minute. But when you go to your Auto Painting section, I found it's always really good to use the Smart Stroke Painting. Check that. And the Smart Settings. Check that. That's all the settings you'll check on the Auto Painting. And once you do that, it gives you the default brushes, like it said on the acrylic dry brush here. Well, I like using the acrylic capture brush. Actually, don't want to use the acrylic dry brush. So I'm going to change that, and you can change that. You don't have to stick with just what it gives you by default. So I'm going to go up to my acrylics, and I'm going to use the capture bristle. I'm going to make that brush a little bit larger so it will give it some pretty nice paint strokes. And once you change your own brush, you'll notice the color navigator here, or the color palette, it's not grayed out anymore. You want to make sure that it is grayed out under that clone area. So you just want to press this clone color stamp here again to make sure it's grayed out. And then once you do that, you're ready to paint. And you have your play button here and your stop button here right beside it. Just click the play button. And you'll notice your cursor begins to twirl around while it's painting. And once you see that it's not painting on the canvas anymore, or you see your cursor comes back, then you know that it's finished painting. So there's my cursor. The paint's gone. It's not painting on the canvas anymore, so it's not painting anymore. So here's the thing with some brushes, you get these type of end results with the auto painting. So you'll notice here that you can't really see a lot of his facial features here. Most of that has kind of gone away. You can use the restoration tab here, and you can do the soft edge, cloner brush. I usually don't fool with that. Excuse me. I usually go up to the brushes again and go to the cloners. And then I usually choose the soft cloner from there. And then very lightly, I'll go over the areas with the soft cloner brush that I just want to bring in some of those facial features back. I want to bring in his eyes, his nose, and some of his mouth. You know, I want to bring in just enough. I mean, I don't want to bring in the whole picture again, of course. But you want to bring in just enough. And this is where you can use the cloner brush, and you can bring in some elements like the face or anything else that you need to bring back in to bring some more features back into. And also, to add your own style to your paintings, you don't have to just leave it as is. Go over here to your layers palette and create a new layer. You can name it anything you want to name it. And you can create several different new layers, however you want to work your layers. But you can actually do this to give it your own style. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go back to my brushes, and I'm going to actually go back to my acrylic brush and the captured bristle brush. I'm going to go over here to the clone color, and I'm going to turn that stamp off so I get my colors back. I'm going to take my brush size down a little bit. And I'm actually going to take and work around his face just a little bit. I'm going to take the color picker. I'm going to grab some of that color, just a little bit that I want to use. I'm going to just kind of fine tune just a little bit here. add a little more, you know, of my own strokes here to it. Maybe some certain places here you might want to add a few more highlights. You know, some places you might want to go just a little more subtle than the others. And that's my case here. So I think what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to take my opacity down just a little bit around the face. And I'm just going to barely go over that a little bit. Around his neck just a little bit. Maybe around the ear just a little bit more. And just kind of add my own touch and my own style to these features. And when I add a little bit of a white, maybe to, say, the front here, just want to add a little bit of my own brush strokes here where these little white highlights were originally. And maybe just a little bit here on the sides. And then I'm going to kind of color pick from this red color off the sleigh here. And I'm going to take a little bit of this blue out where the auto painting just kind of smeared it a little bit around on the sleigh. I'm going to take a little bit of that out. And you can just rework some areas of your painting like this. Because if you leave everything as is, a lot of times people might be able to recognize that it is just the auto painting from a photograph. But if you go in and add your own style, like we're doing here, I'm going to add some brush strokes along the edge of this building here. I'm kind of lighten it up in certain areas. And then maybe some around some of this greenery. Maybe some of the green on the building here. Maybe add a few of my own strokes. Maybe some around this greenery a little bit. And you get the idea. You can go around anywhere you want to take and just kind of add some good strokes, around and just really make it your own. Putting your own touch to it. It's always good to want to add your own little touch to it by adding a few strokes here and there like that. And then just kind of fixing things just a little bit. You can leave as much of the shadows in there as you want to. You could take some of the shadows out. Just depends on, how you want to work it. But the main thing is to keep it painterly while adding your own style to it. So you could add some, you could really take some time throughout the whole painting and just go over elements of the whole painting and redefine a lot of it however you see fit to. So like I said, just make it your own. And just go in and just work it that way with your own brush strokes, and that way you have your very own touch to it. And it's it's just really nice, really simple. And one more thing that I want to do, I'm going to take this cloner brush again, and I'm going to bring a little bit of his hand back in here. Some of the red had actually covered up the hand a good bit. Just kind of bring a little bit of the fingers back in, just enough to where it still looks a little painterly there. And that's really how you do it. That's how you work it. You could add highlights to the hair and just different things like that. So that's how you can do the auto painting feature, Corel Painter 2015, and that's how you rework the auto painting to give it your own style, your own brush strokes, and really make the masterpiece a masterpiece and make it your own.